Welcome to Above Replacement Radio. I am your host, Chris Gianta. I might be becoming a bad baseball fan who can't enjoy the romantic things because of advanced statistics. 15 years from now, I want to be on the early baseball committee. Over there on the other side of the screen is Daniel Curran.
I literally have the Fangraphs hoodie, the baseball reference t-shirt, just repping some stats, you know what I'm saying?
It's not necessarily Hall of Fame. It's not necessarily above average, but we can guarantee you we are better than just the standard replacement level college sophomore.
And welcome to Above Replacement Radio, where we're talking baseball kind of whenever. I'm your host, Chris Gianta. Over there to my actual left, as you cannot see on YouTube, unfortunately, is Daniel Curran. How you doing, Daniel?
Chris, I am doing wonderful today. We had some baseball this weekend, believe it or not.
Yeah, we have to address the elephant in the room here. Baseball was played over the weekend. Games that count, MLB games with I don't know if anybody heard about this, but there's some new rules.
Yeah,
it's pretty wild.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we were getting DMs. I was getting emails being like, "Hey, are you gonna address the baseball?
Yeah,
on your show?" Well, we're doing it right here, so you can stop complaining now. We're addressing what everyone wants to hear.
Yeah, 100%. You know, it's been a long-standing thing with us is, you know, when are we going to talk about baseball? And today is that day.
Yeah.
Today is that day.
I know you guys have been waiting almost 3.5 years for it.
Yeah.
We're finally doing it.
234 times you've clicked play, and this time we're talking about baseball. So, you know, happy to finally address it. And yeah, really exciting stuff. The WBC is awesome, but it's great to have just a full slate of MLB games where, you know, 30 teams are playing. All the storylines that you've been thinking about for the last 5 months are all coming into fruition. You get to overreact a lot, which is a lot of fun. Love it. Love having the season back for sure.
Absolutely. All 30 teams played 3 to 4 games. Not a single game was rained out on opening weekend.
Yeah.
I feel like that's got to be like a first since like 1873.
Yeah.
According to Elias.
Well, yeah, because there's always at least one. Yeah, I know the last 2 Red Sox opening days have been postponed.
Yep.
Until the next day. So especially in the Northeast where it's just like. It's always just kind of weird at this time of year. Mm-hmm. It seems like it rains every other day. Nothing happening on opening day. And yeah, we got to see all 30 teams. Just so fun.
Yeah, it was a very action-packed weekend. The new rules, I think pretty much, I think 2 out of the 3 we're seeing some very clear effects being made. I wouldn't say the shift ban has done too much.
Yeah.
Which is like, you know, a big win for like the super edgy analytic nerd guys that were like, I told you.
Yeah, unfortunately, Rowdy Tellez is not hitting 800 like I thought he would. Yeah, it's really just a travesty.
What is the league BABIP on pulled ground balls?
Yeah, I'm looking at I'm trying to look at the batting average on ground balls this year because I know after opening day, you know, I put out a tweet Overreaction Friday that on opening day, league average on ground balls was 267, which was 26 points above last year's league average. But in terms of over the weekend,
the league BABIP on pulled ground balls is 199, which is last year it was 192, but in 2017 it was 226. Okay,
so yeah, it hasn't quite made its mark yet.
Maybe ground balls up the middle is where we see the difference.
League. So the league batting average on ground balls this year is 240,
which is 1 point less than last year.
Yes.
Great.
So yeah, maybe.
I will say the league BABIP on ground balls up the middle is at its lowest point in the Statcast era.
Yeah.
So the shift ban is actually taking away hits.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. That's not really how it works. It's also a very small sample size.
Yeah. So far that's what we got.
Yeah.
That's where we're at on ground balls. We're excited for the breakouts of potential guys like Corey Seager, Rowdy Tellez, Max Kepler. However, it's not happening quite yet. But
I wonder what percent of the league batted balls are pulled ground balls.
League ground balls, yeah, I don't know, probably 40% or something,
Yeah, that's usually what it is.
or like 45. You roll over sometimes. And I'm trying to figure out how do we find the
Well, it's actually at its highest point since the StatCast era. 23.8% of batted balls are pulled ground balls. Actually, it's 2.5 points above the next highest in the StatCast era, 2015. So, yeah, people have been going for it more. It's just we just haven't gotten those results.
Yeah, no, definitely not. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see that take shape. I'm trying to find how to look at the league stolen base success rate, but I think yesterday
It's overwhelmingly successful.
it's like 84% or
Yeah.
something. That's pretty wild. I think we're gonna get into we're gonna talk about our top overreactions and maybe one or two things not to overreact to. And I think I'll be getting into some stuff regarding it's Daniel had the idea to do one player overreaction, one team overreaction, and one league overall overreaction.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll probably get more into the stolen base stuff with my league overreaction, but yeah, there's yeah, I think there's one rule that like there were two really big rules and the third one was kind of like hidden back there, but I think it's going to take a real big effect, which I'll get into for sure.
Absolutely.
But yeah, what were your, I don't know. Do we want to get into overreactions or just talk a little bit about the weekend of baseball?
Let's talk for like 5 minutes about the weekend. I mean, opening day, every team played. I don't know. Do you have any particular takeaways from opening day specifically? 'Cause I don't remember too much.
Opening day. I mean, just in terms of individual performances, like
Garrett Cole, Dylan Cease.
Dylan Cease goes into Minute Maid Park, faces the Astros on their ring ceremony night, and strikes out 10 batters. Doesn't walk anybody, which is not the Dylan Cease way particularly. That was pretty cool. I think it showed why he was able to have the Cy Young runner-up season that he had last year. That was pretty cool. Lots of swings and misses, lots of chases as well. So Dylan Cease having a great performance. Also, I think, and this is not one of my team overreactions, but I think the White Sox have maybe a little bit of a different energy.
Yeah.
They went
Pedro Grifol, new manager. I mean, they split with the Astros at home in their first series after going all the way.
Mm-hmm.
That's certainly a good sign.
Right.
And also, like the two games they lost, they were in both of them. It's not like they got blown out in any game.
Yeah. And the first game they kind of won late, and I feel like that wasn't exactly what they were doing. Last year. I could be wrong though. But yeah, from opening day particularly, not too much. Do you want to talk about the rest of the weekend?
Yeah, I mean the rest of the weekend, I've had like the quad box on MLB TV going the whole time. The Rockies splitting with the Padres was fun. The Diamondbacks splitting with the Dodgers was interesting. The Diamondbacks in particular, I'm very intrigued about because all of their first 15 games are against the Dodgers and Padres. Like they face the Dodgers this weekend, they face the Padres this week, they face the Dodgers again next weekend, and I think it might even be the Padres again after that. I gotta check, but I mean the Dodgers had one of the better run differentials because they won. They both the games they lost 2-1, and then they won 10-1 on Saturday. They won significantly on an opening day as well. But if the Diamondbacks can get through these first 15 or so games, with a decent enough record, they're going to be really interesting the rest of the way, especially with less divisional play this year.
Yeah.
You already eliminated that many games against the Dodgers and Padres still. Looking good. Okay, so real quick. The Diamondback schedule, they face the Dodgers. They have 2 against the Padres this week. They bring the Dodgers in for 4 this weekend at their place. And then they face the Brewers at home, who are, a potential playoff team. And they go on the road to face the Marlins, kind of the one-trap series. And they're on the road against the Cardinals, a very good team. We saw a lot of good offense from them this weekend. And they are home against the Padres.
Yeah.
That's how they start their season.
Yeah.
They really only get one trap series in there.
Right.
And it's still a Marlins team that is very good pitching and is good on many different angles.
Right. Yeah. Like
they're
not like an easy sweep by any means. They're
especially
always,
on a sandy day.
Yeah, especially, and also they're like a Marlins game is typically low scoring, which is also typically closer. So there's more wiggle room in those games. But yeah, that sucks for the Diamondbacks.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, with their division, they'll have them having less divisional play is a good thing because they have 3 pretty competitive teams. Obviously, the Dodgers and Padres are both, if one wasn't in the NL West, they'd be a division favorite in another division. They're 2 like division winning caliber teams.
Yep.
And then the Giants are also, coming off a 500 season and could be facing some bounce backs as well. In their year, made some additions as well, along with subtractions, but some additions. So yeah, not outside of the Rockies, which actually don't seem to be a tough out based on what they did this weekend. But outside the Rockies, not a lot of easy outs with the NL West. But yeah, I think what was going on at Fenway was pretty fun.
Yeah,
some fun games going on.
Yeah, the Red Sox scored 9+ runs in each of their first 3 games for the first time in franchise history. The Orioles became the first team to steal 5 bases in each of their first 2 games.
Yeah, wow.
A lot of history being made on both sides.
Right.
Red Sox ended up winning the series, although the Orioles easily could have. In fact, they should have.
Yeah.
Ryan McKenna dropped a routine fly ball that would have ended the game, and instead Adam Duvall hit a walk-off 2-run home run for the first walk-off of the season.
Right. Yeah. It was some interesting game. It was like not really clean baseball the first couple days. Like even in the game before where the Orioles won, they had their potential third out of the 9th inning was thrown into the ground for an error.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that was to turn a double play, so I don't know if it was technically an error, but still just not well played baseball.
If you look at the defensive outs above average rankings on Fangraphs, the Orioles are like a mile below everyone else, even this early in the season.
That's wild.
Yeah, it's been 3 games. Their defense is ranked. They're at -6.2.
Wow.
And the next lowest is -2.4.
Yeah.
Like their defense is already beyond awful at this point. Obviously that can change. It probably will change. I don't think they're going to stay on that pace forever. It's funny because their offense is also the best. They are ranked the best. Their offensive runs above average is ranked first. Their defense is ranked last. That's fun.
Yeah, I noticed with Cedric Mullins, who I have a significant interest in this year.
Mm-hmm.
He had like -2 out or -1.5 defensive runs above average or something already.
Yep.
Because he had this weird, the first at bat of the year for the Red Sox. I think he was like right against the wall, and he thought there was more wall, but there wasn't, and it just landed.
That was a Verdugo triple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I could see how that could negatively affect his defense. But yeah. And then, also on opening day, the Red Sox walked like 9 guys. There's some weird baseball going on over.
There's always more walks in April too.
Yeah, it seems.
There's always less slugging and more walks.
Yeah. Yep.
So do we want to get into our overreactions now?
Absolutely. What's your first overreaction?
All right. We'll go players first. So my player overreaction comes from a team that we saw a lot of offensive success out of this weekend. I think the Nolan Gorman breakout is real. Nolan Gorman hit 2 home runs yesterday. Overall, in 3 games and 13 plate appearances, he is slashing .444, .615, .1111. for a 375 weighted runs created plus. He also has a 30% walk rate. So pretty much everything on offense he's doing very well. He's hitting for contact. He's hitting for power. He, like I mentioned, 2 home runs yesterday. He's walking a lot. His strikeout rate is 23%, but that's something that I can get over. As long as it doesn't go anywhere up from there. I really think Nolan Gorman has a chance to break out as another infielder for the Cards, who already have a stacked infield with Brendan Donovan, who looked very good this weekend, and obviously with Arenado and Goldschmidt. Those two go without saying. If he can continue to perform, maybe not exactly like this, but if he can be a 125 weighted runs created plus bat all year, the Cardinals are going to look really good. I mean, they could be a much more formidable foe in the NL than we saw them, in comparison to the teams in the East and the West. So I'm buying into Nolan Gorman after Game 3 of the season.
Yeah. Gorman, was he like a top 100 prospect
Oh,
guy?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, he was up there in the prospect rankings. So cool to see him come up and do big things at the major league level, and especially against a very quality MLB team in the Blue Jays. It's not like he was crushing the Nationals.
Mm-hmm.
My player overreaction, Trace Thompson's success from last year could be sustainable. He had a 901 OPS with the Dodgers last year, and we're all like, he could be good, but he's probably not going to be that good. Maybe that's not the case. Maybe he's able to put up a 900 OPS again or something like that. I mean, it's not like he got a 900 OPS last year through hitting ground balls through the hole. He had a crazy sweet spot rate, crazy barrel rate. In fact, 16.4% barrel rate last year, 45.0% sweet spot rate, and 92.2 mile per hour average exit velocity last year. And, if you didn't see on Saturday, he had 3 home runs, all of the exact same exit velocity to the decimal, which was pretty cool, pretty stellar. He hit 3 home runs at exactly 107.5 miles per hour. So I think there's reason to believe that Trace Thompson could be a staple of that Dodgers lineup, and we shouldn't really look past the Dodgers beyond Freeman, Betts, Smith, and Muncy, because this guy, although he kind of came out of nowhere, he hasn't shown that he has the underlying numbers, and he hasn't shown that he's going to have any signs of a drop-off quite yet. Sure, it could happen, but we just haven't seen that yet. So maybe Trace Thompson's success could be sustainable for 2023.
Yeah, the Dodgers are... And I know we both picked the Padres in the NL West, but the Dodgers just feel inevitable. Like, part of me feels like at the end of the season, I'll be like, yeah, of course James Outman outperformed Juan Soto, obviously. And I'm mostly kidding on that.
Yeah,
that would be insane.
Yeah.
But that's just how the Dodgers are sometimes.
Yep. So we're also throwing in some people, some players to not, or some things to not overreact to.
Yeah.
Is your thing a player also?
Mine is a team thing.
Okay. I'll start with.
I'm pretty sure I know what yours is.
Yeah, you know what mine is. I've talked about it. I tweeted about it. And maybe less people are popping off than I figured, but I figure the casual fan isn't gonna look too deeply into this. But I remember I did see JR from CBS Sports Radio, who I follow because he came here a year and a half ago, and he's not really a baseball guy, but he was tweeting about the Jacob deGrom start and it looking bad, and I tweeted out something about the stats that deGrom had, or actually I deleted it because I had one thing wrong, but somebody replied to me like, well, I'm alarmed because I'm alarmed as a Mets fan who wants to see him degrominate. However, he didn't read what I was saying at all. Mm-hmm. And if you watch the game, you could see that he was not getting killed. So with Jacob deGrom...
he had an absolutely dominant first inning.
Absolutely, yeah. And anyone sounding the Jacob deGrom alarm should not be listened to. He gave up 6 hits in 3 2/3 innings. 5 runs, 5 earned. However, 4 of the 5 extra base hits he allowed were on batted balls of less than 92 mile per hour exit velocities, and 2 were less than 70 miles per hour. In 2022, no pitcher had 4 or more extra base hits allowed of 92 miles per hour or less. In 2022, no pitcher allowed that many extra base hits with those low exit velocities. And no pitcher also allowed 2 or more extra base hits of 70 miles per hour or less in a single game. So no one was as unlucky with soft extra base hits last year in a single game as Jacob deGrom was in the opening day start against the Phillies. So he allowed some soft hit balls that just were in the exact right spot. Also doesn't help when Trey Turner was one of the guys on the bases who ended up legging out a triple on a ball that he hit only 69.2 miles per hour or something like that. And meanwhile, Jacob deGrom, he struck out 7 of 17 batters, walked nobody, and had a 28% whiff rate and 34% chase rate. I'm not concerned with Jacob deGrom at all because the lack of luck he had with extra base hits is something that we never saw in a game last year.
Yeah.
It's obviously not something that's going to be happening in the foreseeable future. So I am not overreacting to Jacob deGrom giving up 5 runs to start the year. All right, let's move on to teams.
Yeah, so my teams thing actually kind of goes somewhat in line with your Jacob deGrom take because he faced them over the weekend. I think the Phillies are going to be fighting an uphill battle throughout the year. They got swept by the Rangers over the weekend. Their pitching gave up 27 runs in the first 2 games. The Rangers, I believe, scored the second most runs in their first 2 games throughout any season, any team.
Yeah.
So they had a historic weekend. They won 2-1 last night on Sunday Night Baseball. Martin Perez looked really good. Josh Young homered, which is pretty cool. But I do worry about the Phillies, especially in that lineup. Harper and Hoskins are not only 2 important bats, but also 2 guys that you want to have in the lineup just for the morale of everyone else.
Yeah.
But that lineup does not. Derek Hall was hitting 4th on opening day. That's not exactly what I wanted to see from the reigning National League champs. World Series hangover, I know that people really only talk about it with the team that wins, but I think it's possible to see it out of the defending NL champions as well. Nola and Wheeler, they obviously didn't look very good, but I'm willing to put those aside and say that, they'll be fine. Bailey Falter looked pretty decent last night, but that offense, or just the team in general, looks very inconsistent, and I have a feeling that they're going to be playing with something to prove every single day.
Yeah.
There's not going to be a game that goes by where it's like, oh, they lost, but whatever. It feels like they're really going to be fighting for a lot throughout the entire season this year.
Right. And you mentioned Harper and Hoskins, like not only good for the what's on the field, which is hitting home runs, doubles, getting on base and whatnot, but also for the morale, as you said, those are both guys that are in at least their 5th year with the Phillies. Not the same can be said for everybody in that lineup.
Yeah.
They're very experienced guys, very experienced with the organization. So not having them in there, something feels a little bit off.
Yeah. You mentioned, we shouldn't see the Dodgers lineup just through Betts, Turner, or Betts, Freeman, Will Smith, Max Muncy. I think it's a little more acceptable to see the Phillies lineup just for Kyle Schwarber, Trey Turner, Nick Castellanos.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I put Derek Hall as a player to watch, but I put him under the assumption like, hey, his strikeout rate could go down and he could be dominant. Like he does well on contact, but he strikes out a lot, swings and misses a lot. And, there's a lot of, Bryson Stott hasn't quite developed into an above average major league hitter quite yet.
I will say the bottom of the Phillies lineup actually looked pretty good this weekend, especially last night. Like Bryson Stott had 2 hits, Edmundo Sosa had 2 hits. So, I am saying this with the knowledge that the bottom of the lineup actually did kind of do its job. I did forget to mention JT Realmuto in looking at the Phillies lineup, but yeah, I mean, he's there. I do think, and this is not to say that they'll be bad, but I think they're going to be fighting for something to prove every single day.
Yeah,
Is
absolutely.
my take.
Yeah, absolutely.
The bullpen also did not look good this weekend. Sir Anthony Dominguez gave up a home run to Mitch Garver.
Right. Yeah, they got Taiwan Walker going tonight. That'll be his
Yeah.
first time in a Phillies uniform. So, and it's against the Yankees in the Bronx. So we'll see how that goes.
Matt Strahm is starting tomorrow. He's already made a relief appearance.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So that's not great.
Yeah.
But, Ranger Suarez hopefully will be back soon.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know the timetable for him exactly, but he had a strained elbow, which is like the least severe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. My team overreaction. I have no hope for the Detroit Tigers right now.
Fair enough.
They were outscored 21-3 over the weekend against the Rays. And with all these overreactions with opening weekend, obviously all teams have only faced one team, so you could be like, "Oh, the Rays are really good," or you could be like, "Oh, the Tigers are really bad." I'm taking the Tigers are really bad route because they just look hopeless right now. Their offense had a 15 weighted runs created plus, which was worst in baseball, and their pitching had a 5.09 FIP to go along with that. The offense had the 5th lowest exit velocity and 5th lowest sweet spot percentage, and also the 2nd lowest line drive rate, along with the 4th highest strikeout rate and 4th highest whiff rate. Their whiff rate was 31.2%, which is pretty bad. And they also had the lowest, they had the worst expected WOBA, expected slugging, and expected batting average in baseball over the weekend. And their expected WOBA was 229, and the next worst was 43 points ahead at 272. I think, the offense was already really bad last year with an 84 OPS plus. Based on... Or actually, I will say Austin Meadows had a somewhat decent weekend. I think he hit 400, 900 OPS, which meant he probably went 4 for 10 or something. But the Tigers, I just don't. I put them in last place for a reason, and this isn't me saying that the Royals are going to do crazy better, but I don't like what the based off that first weekend, I don't like what the Tigers are giving me. Even their pitching. Did not look good either. Obviously, 5.09 FIP. Them getting rid of Soto, Chafin, and Jimenez over the offseason when their bullpen was one of their best assets. I don't think that's going to work for them. And I think there's a possibility that AJ Hinch gets a boot mid-season.
Wow.
I think it's more like it would be more an organization sending a signal or something, trying to satisfy the fan base or something. It's just because I don't see the team performing very well throughout the season, and this would be the second time the Tigers underperformed in a row. And even in AJ Hinch's good year, they were still a 77-win team. They did perform above expectations, but since then, they had a 66-win season, and if it gets worse, then AJ Hinch might be out of there. Although it could be an organization overreaction, I'm not saying that it would be justified, but we could see that. We could see that.
And the worst thing is, it's not even like anyone from the lineup is missing. This is what they showed out this weekend. That's what they got. They're not waiting for any prospects. They're not waiting for someone to come back from the injured list. The lineup that we watched out, this weekend against the Rays is what their best is, which is an issue if that's how they're going to perform. Obviously, they're not going to have a 15 weighted runs created plus all season, but
right. And
there is a lot of reason for concern, no doubt.
Yeah, and out of curiosity, I put on the Jeffrey Springs start yesterday. I just went through, watched all of his innings last night. And he did look great. He looked to get everything on the corner, but the Tigers showed no aggressiveness at the plate yesterday. They were getting, it seemed like there was an 0-2 count every single at bat against Jeffrey Springs.
I was actually watching it live.
Yeah. They just look like get the bat off your shoulders, guys. Come on. You got to start swinging the bat eventually because Springs is consistently hitting these corners. So you got to pick out a pitch and and try to get a hit, and they didn't get a hit against Springs. So I'm very concerned about the Tigers as my team overreaction. All right, league overreaction.
My league overreaction. Multiple teams will steal over 200 bases this year. In the 21st century, only one team has stolen 200 bases, and it was the 2007 New York Mets stealing exactly 200. I think multiple teams will surpass that this year. We've seen stolen bases jump up at a crazy rate. There were 21 attempted steals on opening day when there was only 6 on opening day last year. The overwhelming majority of them have been successful. The Orioles obviously made history, like I mentioned before, becoming the first team in baseball history to steal 5 bases in each of their first 2 games. They ran wild on the Red Sox and Reese McGuire. I think it's also possible that, the Red Sox, Reese McGuire looked really bad trying to throw out runners. It's possible they could set a X year record for most stolen bases given up in a season. I don't think they're going to set an all-time record because stolen bases were free in the 1800s and early 1900s. That was just a way of life.
Yeah,
exactly. I mean, you know what I'm talking about. But
shout out Billy Hamilton, the OG.
Yes, the OG Billy Hamilton. Anthony Volpe stole a base in each of his first 3 games.
Yeah,
he's still on pace for 162 stolen bases. We've seen a large jump in stolen base numbers across the league, and I think that's just going to keep piling up over the summer.
Yeah, it looks that way. You can obviously see. You can obviously see the impact that it has on the game.
Mm-hmm.
My league overreaction. My league overreaction is that the pickoff rule will have more of an impact on the game this year than the shift rule.
I agree.
Maybe it's probably not objectively that hot of a take, but heading into the year, all people could talk about was pitch clock.
Shift and bigger bases.
And the bigger bases, I don't think it's that much of an impact. I think it's 3 inches bigger. So that's a combined 6 inches from first to second base.
Right.
That's 6 inches out of 1,080, if my math is correct. I don't think that's the thing. I think it's because the pitchers can not go over more than twice. Otherwise, if they don't get the guy, it's an automatic balk.
I forget who I was watching this weekend, but there was a guy on base. I think it was Corbin Carroll was on base against Noah Syndergaard, which is just straight up not fair because he is so slow to the plate. And he picked off twice, and literally the second time that he picked off, Corbin Carroll was leaning towards second base. His body was literally facing second base, just ready to go. And he stole 2 bases, and Will Smith didn't even make a throw.
Yeah.
He was just he's there.
Right. Yeah, and I do think it's a problem. I think it's very unfair to the pitchers.
I never understood that one, which I do understand it because with the pitch clock thing, they could use pickoffs as a way to dodge the pitch clock.
True.
If it's ever at 2 and they're not ready, they could just throw off 1,000 times until they're ready.
Yeah, for sure.
But it does provide a very big unfair advantage with stolen bases.
Right, and if the stats I were seeing were correct, the league stolen base success rate was 84%. Last year was 75%. I don't think it's really supposed to be like that. I don't think that
not even Ricky Henderson was that good.
No. And I think over the course of the history of the game, caught stealing percentage has been going down and down because I think teams are a little smarter with how they approach base stealing.
Mm-hmm.
But this is pretty wild. I don't think 17 out of 20 times you should be stealing second base or third base successfully. I don't think that should be happening. It's pretty absurd, and I think especially if you think about it, you don't know how long an at bat's going to be. Think about a potential guy just fouling off 5 pitches in a row, and this guy is basically halfway to second base now because you used your 2 pickoffs 7 pitches ago. I'd like to see adjustment. I know it's not going to happen because MLB, they make a rule, they don't turn back on it. We saw that with the ghost runner rule.
Yep.
It's just not going to happen. So I'll have to live with it. I'll have to learn to adjust to it. but I think it's very unfair, although it adds maybe a little bit of excitement. Maybe if they just increased it from like 3 up to 5 or something like that.
Yeah.
5 is obviously, that seems like too much. But 3, like, it's because it's basically 2, because the odds of you picking somebody off is very rare. So you basically get 2 pickoffs. And I think that's very unfair, and I think that's the biggest impact. I think MLB was advertising like, oh, bigger bases, more stolen bases, and I'm like, no, it's the pickoffs, because when you can't go over more than twice, basically, it's gonna this is the most game altering thing. Like, at all levels, this would be a problem, and it's showing.
Do they even ever try that at a different level?
I don't think so.
Because
No.
every other thing, like maybe not the shift ban, but like the pitch clock, they tried at other levels. The ghost runner, they tried at other levels. I don't think they ever did the pickoff rule at any other level.
Right. Yeah. Like, it's just I I was, a very, very amateur pitcher, but I could not imagine if I were playing like in high school and I could only go over twice in an at bat, and I could use it in the first 2 pitches, and then it's a 7-pitch at bat, and the guy's at third now. It's tough. It's very tough. All right, that's what I have on the pickoff rule.
Yeah.
What was your non-overreaction?
My non-overreaction was, I don't really have too many numbers to back this up, but I think we should pump the brakes a little bit on the Rangers. They obviously looked very good this weekend against the Phillies team that I already addressed. And they're obviously going to be in a very competitive AL West, where the Angels lost the game where they should have beat the A's. The Mariners dropped 3 out of 4 to the Guardians, and the Astros split with the White Sox. So the Rangers, came out of the weekend looking like the best team in the AL West. I think a lot of people are putting a lot of stock in them right now. I want to see a little more from them. It's not like I didn't see enough. It's just it's been a small sample size, only 3 games against one team. And I would like to see it against basically divisional opponents.
Yeah.
I don't really have too many numbers to go into it, but my not overreacting to it was I want to see more from the Rangers.
Yeah. Understandable.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess that'll lead into our first edition of Players to Highlight since
October.
First week of October. So basically been 6 months now since we've done it. I got to go back to the old files. By the way, I'm. If anyone listens to this, hold me to this. I wanna try a new. I want to try to get like an actual edited like how about that and slightly alarming intro where it's something you can do instead of only the.
That'd be a major upgrade of the show.
The thing from my phone. So hold me to it. I was planning on doing it prior to the season, but I had other things to tend to first. But yeah, I'd like to do that. I think it would add a little production element. But yeah, I would love to do that. So I'm saying that to manifest it for the future for sure. But we will start. With players that have really stood out over the weekend with our Monday, April 3rd, 2023 edition of... How about that? Who do you have for us today?
So, as you know, Chris, every first How About That of the year, I do 2. That's been a tradition of mine for a couple of years now. This will be the 3rd year that I'm doing it. That's exactly what I did. I always do 1 batter and 1 pitcher. I actually remember every one. So in 2021, my 2 were Kyle Isbell and Julian Merriweather. Last year, it was Eduardo Escobar and Yohan Duran. This year, my hitter for my first How About That of the year is Miguel Vargas, who looked really, really interesting for the Dodgers.
Yeah, I saw. He's not my player, but I saw him.
Yeah,
I saw his numbers. Yeah.
Yeah. Hilarious. So through 4 games, he is slashing a very normal 400, 769, 600, 1369 with a 305 weighted runs created plus. His 4 batted balls this year so far, have an average exit velocity of 97.6 miles per hour, also a sweet spot percent and hard hit percent of 75%. So 3 out of 4 batted balls have been hard hit and in the sweet spot, which is excellent. He is also yet to hit a ground ball or a pop-up. Every one of his batted balls has been a fly ball or a line drive. Unbelievably, his expected statistics are actually suggesting that he's been unlucky. He has a 430 expected batting average and a 979 expected slugging. That is because he had a 105.2 mile per hour, 24-degree launch angle, 384-foot double in one of those batted balls that should have been a home run, but it was hit to the wrong part of the park. He also had a 98.5 mile per hour, 19-degree, 311-foot line out. That obviously could have been a double, maybe even a triple, but we're probably working on the assumption that that's a double most of the time. Obviously, it was nothing. He also, this is the most important thing, this is the stat that I've been hyping up to you, Chris. Miguel Vargas had 8 walks and 5 at-bats this weekend. He is the 7th player in MLB history to have 8+ walks in 5 or less at-bats in any 4-game span. The other 6 are Ted Williams, Darren Dalton, Mark McGwire, Larry Walker, Barry Bonds, and David Ortiz. And now you can add Miguel Vargas to that list.
Wow.
He's on a list of 7, and 2 of the 7 are Ted Williams and Barry Bonds.
Yeah, that gets a how about that? Little how about that action for sure.
No doubt. And my pitcher for how about that, you mentioned him earlier, is Jeffrey Springs. He looked awesome over the weekend. Granted, it was against that Tigers team, but nonetheless, he is leading all pitchers in FWAR with .5. The next closest is .3. His line on Sunday was 6 innings pitched, no hits, no runs, 1 walk, and 12 strikeouts. He had a game score of 83. And he is the second person in Rays franchise history to put up a game score above 80 within the team's first 5 games of the season. The other was Mark Hendrickson in 2006. I actually watched this game live. I came for Joey Wentz, but I stayed for Jeffrey Springs.
Yep.
Because Joey Wentz is one of my players to watch, and I wanted to watch him throw his cutter, which he didn't do. He threw his fastball.
Yeah, that sucks.
And he gave up an absolute shot to Randy Arozarena. Anyway, Springs became the 3rd pitcher in MLB history with 12+ strikeouts and no hits allowed in their first start of the season. The other 2 were done in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
2021 Jose Barrios, which was one of your how about that's, and 2022 Clayton Kershaw, which of course we remember was the perfect game that he got taken out of.
Yeah.
So someone's got to do it next year to keep the trend going.
Yeah.
Of the 6 batted balls that he gave up, they had launch angles of -2 degrees, 2 degrees, 4 degrees, 43 degrees, another 43 degrees, and then 81 degrees. So he had a sweet spot percentage of 0%, which was excellent. Of the 37 four-seam fastballs that he threw, 14 of them resulted in called strikes. Among the 1,662 outings in Tampa Bay Rays history, where a pitcher has recorded at least 1 called strike among at least 25 four-seam fastballs, Springs' called strike rate of 37.8% ranked 18th. That is 18th among 1,662. He threw his and by the way, it's funny that I mentioned Tampa Bay Rays history because I quite literally mean that, because the Tampa Bay Rays became a franchise in 2008. They were the Devil Rays before then, and the pitch tracking era also goes back to 2008. So I literally mean that when I say franchise history.
Yeah.
Since the name change. So that's pretty fun.
Yeah.
He threw his fastball, changeup, and sweeper a total of 37, 28, and 10 times respectively, and he had a called strike and whiff rate above 39% on all of them, which is all of those are elites. Overall, he had a called strike and whiff rate of 41%, which is excellent. He looked pretty unhittable in that start. Every pitch was going well for him. And yeah, Jeffrey Springs is my second. How about that?
Yeah. Yeah, Jeffrey Springs, a little indirect victory lap also. That was my player to watch from the Rays, which, to be fair, one of my more obvious choices that I picked for a player to watch. But yeah, and yeah, to add to that.
That's a victory lap for you.
Yeah, little indirect.
So fun fact. So Remember how last year we were trying to figure out a term for like when you put a player on slightly alarming?
That was your play to watch.
No. Like we were trying to come up with a term for like when you highlight a player on slightly alarming. That was one of your players to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I figured out a name. It's the talk of shame.
Oh yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's sticking. That's
So
sticking for
so
sure.
real quick, just going over the terminology for how about that's and slightly alarmings. If you highlight a player on how about that was previously a slightly alarming earlier in the season, that's a comeback special. The other way around is a freeze over. Anytime you have multiple how about that's in a season, it's a how about these. Anytime you have two slightly alarmings, it is you're entering the froze zone.
Yes.
And then lastly, if you highlight a player to watch on how about that's a victory lap, and if you highlight a player to watch on slightly alarming, that is the talk of shame.
Yep. And if you're wondering why we did do the how about that, I'm trying to look up the specific thing, but this really could have only been done in quarantine. I was studying up for the back when we did the history series, back when we were called Show to Be Named Later. We were doing the Sandy Koufax episode, and I was interested in like watching his starts, and some of them were on YouTube, specifically Game 5 of the 1965 World Series against the Twins. I'm trying to find where this originated because I just found it hilarious. So I can't find the video, or I can't find the specific.
It was a picture though, wasn't it?
It was on the scoreboard, and I took a screenshot of it, but it's on my old computer, so I can't find it on my current computer right now.
No, I didn't. That's a lie. I didn't find it.
But they just put on the scoreboard like, oh, this is Sandy Koufax's like 20-second time striking out 10 or more batters. How about that exclamation point? So now anytime we think of cool stats and find players to highlight, we call it a how about that. So that's the ARR glossary on why that is.
Just for warning for viewers, that story is way cooler for the slightly alarming origins.
Yeah, and the slightly alarming is we'll get into it after I play the soundbite, and after we're done with our slightly alarmings. But that's the reference for how about that, and the sound for how about that is Tom Hamilton, the Guardians radio announcer, saying that after a Jose Ramirez home run
in 2016.
So now for my Jeffrey Springs and Miguel Vargas.
How about that?
So my how about that? This seems like the obvious choice, but maybe if you're not in this market, it's not quite as obvious. Although he did have a big highlight, a big highlight on Saturday particularly. But I'm talking about Adam Duvall. This.
I gotta start the list. I forgot about that.
Yeah, I'm talking about Adam Duvall. He went 8 for 14 with 2 home runs, a triple, and 3 doubles for a .571 average, 1357 slugging, and 1957 OPS. It is the first time in the history of game logs a player has had 2 home runs, a triple, 3 doubles, and 2 singles in his first 3 games of the season. First time since 1901 that has ever happened to start the year. Duvall leads all 192 qualifiers in slugging, OPS, and weighted runs created plus. On 11 batted balls over the weekend, he had 5 barrels. That's a 45.4% or 45.5% barrel rate, and 5 line drives to go with that. 0 ground balls on 11 batted balls. And Duvall's 5 barrels were tied for the most in baseball over the weekend. He tied with Crone, who played 1 more game than Duvall did. And probably most importantly, with Duvall, you obviously know he's gonna put the ball in the air. He's always had a low ground ball rate, and he always hits the ball pretty hard, gets a lot of home runs. But his strikeout rate has been more of an issue for him. On 25 swings over the past weekend, Adam Duvall only swung and missed 3 times, which is a rate of 12%. That was really good. Albeit take it with what it is. He was facing the Orioles pitching staff, but at least, last year they had a good bullpen. They're kind of an average, for the case of this, how about that? They're kind of an average pitching staff, could be considered below average, but Adam Duvall was killing them with a 1957 OPS in 3 games, 5 barrels.
1957 OPS. Anytime your OPS is a year.
Yeah.
That's like
a year where a team won the World Series.
Yeah. It's like, no, dude, it's 2023. We're not talking about 1957.
Yeah, shout out to the Braves and Henry Aaron and Eddie Matthews.
Eddie Matthews, yeah.
Shout out to them. And Warren Spahn, shout out to them. But yeah, 11 batted balls, 5 barrels, 5 line drives, 0 ground balls. I love that. 3 whiffs on 25 swings. Love that. So yeah, Red Sox fans have something to be happy about so far with their current center fielder, Adam Duvall. So Adam Duvall is getting a.
How about that?
All right, so we already got the Rays, Red Sox, and Dodgers knocked off the list.
Yes, we do.
Making progress.
Making progress. We're 10% there already. All right, so now we move from the highs to the lows, where we're talking players or subjects that underperformed over the weekend, with our Monday, April 3rd, 2023 edition of
Slightly alarming.
Who do you have for us today?
So, I think we should reemphasize what this segment is called slightly alarming, and it means slightly alarming more in this show than any other throughout the year, because this is the smallest sample size that we'll be going off of for this segment throughout the year. I don't anticipate that these guys will actually have a down year, especially to the degree that they did this weekend, but these guys struggled over the weekend. I'm talking about Alex Bregman, who did not do very well. In 18 plate appearances overall, he is slashing 0-0-0, 1-1-1, 0-0-0, 1-1-1. He only had 2 walks. That was the only ways he got on base throughout the 4 games against the White Sox. He has no hits and only 2 walks, obviously. He has 7 strikeouts, making it the first time he has struck out 7 times in a 4-game span since April of 2017. It's been 6 years since the last time Alex Bregman struck out this often in 4 games. And on the 8 batted balls he has this year, he has an average launch angle of 30 degrees, and all his launch angles are -6, -4, 24, 28, 29, 48, 60, 61. So he hasn't exactly hit it in the right way yet, and he obviously hasn't made a ton of contact. That's really all I have on him. There's not too much to go off of in 4 games that I can really take seriously.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, my slightly alarming comes from it goes hand in hand with the team I'm overreacting to, but doesn't have to do with their offense. I laid off the pitching a little bit because I knew I'd get into this guy. But Spencer Turnbull did not look great in his first of all, I got to get the
Alex Bregman.
I'm knocking some rust off. Alex Bregman.
Slightly alarming.
But Spencer Turnbull, he went 2 1/3 innings pitched, allowed 7 earned runs and 3 walks against the Rays on Saturday. His average exit velocity against was 93.0 miles per hour, and his sweet spot rate against was 36.4%. Which is above average. Average exit velocity is a good amount above average. And what's more alarming is only 34.9% of his pitches were in the strike zone, which was the 6th lowest rate of the 109 pitchers to throw 50-plus pitches this weekend. So it's Spencer Turnbull. If you're unaware, he was doing pretty well in 2021, got a no-hitter along with other really good performances that year, but unfortunately had to get Tommy John surgery, about halfway into the 2021 season. Missed all of 2022, and Saturday was his first start back. Was struggling to find the zone, especially with 3 walks, and it turned out to bite him. Had some hard contact against him as well. So not great things from Spencer Turnbull to start the year. But yeah, once again, it is slightly alarming. So yeah, Spencer Turnbull.
Slightly alarming.
And context on what slightly alarming is. So we Daniel and I are in the same class in the same major at Springfield College, and so therefore we take a lot of the same classes, especially early in our college careers. So freshman year, we took a class called Broadcast Writing with the great Laura Dubowski. So one of our projects in the class was to sort of take footage from a regular news segment, news package as they call it, was to take that and make it our sort of our own package and take out the commentary that the and the writing and the script that
Of the original reporter.
And make our own. But so we all did the same package, which made for some fun. Do you want to expand on it a little bit?
Yeah, so we were doing a story about this flooding that was going on in Australia.
Yeah.
And one of the sound bites was from this guy saying, I forget the full quote. I'm sure Chris remembers it.
What was also astounding was, it's in Australia and they have this completely American guy just they picked the only American dude just living in Australia to interview. And it was after the fires in one of the big fires in Australia, and then it was flooding. There was some crazy rain going on, and he was like, I don't know the exact full sentence. We could pull it back up, but he was basically saying that sort of the climate basically was like slightly alarming, and why it's a meme for us is because at one point in the class, since we were all doing it, we just linked up we all hit play at the exact same time and played it, and had 10 computers or so playing the same news story at the exact same time. And that American guy in Australia was, the most memeable guy of that thing. And, when we decided to do players to highlight, that was the first direction I went to for bad players. That's what it's been for since 2020.
Yeah, especially because we really mean it when we say slightly alarming in most cases.
Yeah.
Sometimes we're serious. Like, we're like, yeah, this guy's cooked. He's done.
Yeah.
But, mostly it's just like, oh, this guy's in a slump. He'll probably get out of it. Most guys do.
Yeah.
But it's more just, hey, this guy's been struggling lately. Just letting you guys know, here's what they're, need to improve on. Here's why they've been struggling. Things like that. I wonder if that guy listens. Like, what if that guy likes baseball and he is like, why is my voice a staple on these guys' show?
If he listen, he'd listen the first time, like, that's interesting, and then like, wait, is that my voice? Is that my voice? I remember I was on that newscast once. Yeah, he just only likes
during that vacation I went to Australia.
Yeah, on that vacation. Yeah, I got stuck there because I couldn't travel out of there.
Yeah,
there were too many things going on. The tarmac was flooded.
It was slightly alarming.
It was slightly alarming. But yeah, that's the context. It's some inside jokes.
I feel like
sure.
that's like the number one guest that we need to have on the show. Like not baseball related, not a player, not a reporter. It's got to be the slightly alarming guy.
Yeah. In my head, he only likes Australian-born players, so it's like Peter Moylan and
Liam Hendricks.
Yeah, he's big fans of just relief pitchers who just go over the U.S.
Yeah, Ryan Rowland Smith.
Yeah, yeah. Those are why we have those particular sound bites for players that are doing good and players that are doing bad. Glad to explain it.
Happily, it's a fun story to tell.
It's a fun story to tell.
It's like when it's like having your grandparents tell you the same story.
Yeah.
Like 70 times in a row, but you listen because they love telling it. That's how we are with how our segments came to be.
Yeah, and I don't think we've actually really gone into it on the podcast. So hopefully we
probably have.
Hopefully we can use this as a reference point, particularly. But yeah, so that does it for players to highlight, and we will get into a preview of the week ahead. What the next series will look like. I usually go over series to watch. Daniel will go over the day by day
pitching
matchups of what piques his interests. I'm looking at some series to highlight. The series will probably be weird this year. I feel like there's going to be a lot more like 4 and 2 game series, or actually maybe that's not the case because but how it was before, all those interleague series was like, okay, they play 2 at one ballpark and then 2 at the other ballpark, so it's like, what is this? What's going on? But this year, I don't think that's the case. What's popping off the page for me is Yankees Phillies. There's a lot of star power in that series. However, I think only one of the 2 major Phillies starting pitchers is going to be making an appearance in that series. But I mean, there's going to be some power probably. It's going to be at the Bronx. We'll see if the Phillies can. Phillies came off a tough series, and it can only get tougher when you're facing a team like the New York Yankees, who came into the season as the AL East favorite, despite everyone I see picking the Blue Jays or Rays as the dark horse pick.
It's because people want to be edgy.
People want to be edgy. That's
people
for
don't
sure.
want to go with, oh yeah, I got Yankees, Guardians, Astros in the AL.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, come at me.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm looking at Yankees Phillies. I believe that should be a 3-gamer or no?
No, it is I think it's a 3.
Yeah, it's a 3-game series. And yeah, a great pitching matchup on Wednesday that I'm sure Daniel will get into. And then the other series, Brewers Mets, should be interesting. Probably some good pitching going on in Brewers Mets. That's usually how those teams operate. All right, so what are you looking at for the day-by-day matchups?
So starting on Monday, in Mets Brewers in Milwaukee at 2 p.m. today for the Brewers home opener, you have Carlos Carrasco versus Freddie Peralta. Peralta will be making his return, which is very exciting. Anthony DeSclafani versus Michael Kopech in Giants White Sox. You have Tyler Mahle versus Johnny Cueto in Twins Marlins. Drew Rasmussen will be pitching for the Rays against the Nationals today. He'll be making his first start of the season. Taijuan Walker versus Nestor Cortez. I've never been so sure that someone is going to homer tonight as I am with Aaron Judge today. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but I'm doing something new this season where every day, or as many days as I can, I'm going over 4 matchups, batter-pitcher matchups where so far it's been matchups where the batter has had a lot of success. Every now and then I'm going to try to work in a one where, like, hey, the pitcher's really gotten the best of this guy. But Aaron Judge has I think, 1,300 slugging against Taijuan Walker career in like 11 PAs. He has 4 hits and all of them are homers. I am so sure that he's homering tonight.
Yeah.
No doubt in my mind. 1, because it's Aaron Judge, and 2, because he owns Taijuan Walker. You have the riveting matchup of Johan Oviedo versus Cutter Crawford tonight at Fenway. Chris and I are going to go see it for ourselves with a couple of friends of ours from the show, Nico Fasella and Rob Dickey, the 4/5 of the draft squad.
Yep.
Very exciting. Jose Barrios versus Brady Singer is an exciting matchup in Blue Jays and Royals. You have Charlie Morton and Jake Woodford in Braves Cardinals. In St. Louis, Kyle Bradish versus John Gray in Orioles Rangers. Hunter Brown will be pitching tonight for the Astros against the Detroit Tigers. And you have the matchup of the night tonight, I think, comes from Angels Mariners. You have Reed Detmers versus George Kirby. A couple of teams with very deep rotations that are looking to make a playoff push this year that are going to be facing each other. That's where my mind goes for matchup of the night. Let me check what we got on Tuesday. Yeah, all right. So the matchup of the day is the first game of the day, so I'll skip that one for now. But you have Hayden Wesneski pitching for the Cubs against the Reds on Tuesday. You have Kenta Maeda making his return from the IL from Tommy John surgery, facing Sandy Alcantara in Twins Marlins in Miami. You have Roansy Contreras making his season debut for the Pirates against the Red Sox. That'll be exciting. I really wish he was pitching tonight. You have Max Scherzer versus Wade Miley in Mets Brewers. You have Steven Matz facing the Braves for the Cardinals. Andrew Heaney will be making his season debut against the Orioles for the Rangers at home. You have Framber Valdez pitching for the Astros against the Tigers. Shane Bieber and JP Sears will be facing each other in Guardians A's. Jose Suarez and Luis Castillo will be facing each other in Angels Mariners. Herman Marquez and Julio Urias will be facing each other in Rockies Dodgers. And matchup of the day comes from Diamondbacks Padres. It will be Zach Gallen versus Yu Darvish.
Oh wow, yeah.
That's a fun one.
That's what the Padres get for keeping Darvish back for extra time for I think probably health reasons or something.
Yeah.
All right. What you got on Wednesday?
On Wednesday in Cubs Reds, we have Marcus Stroman versus Hunter Green. That's going to be very fun.
Yeah.
You're going to have Shane McClanahan facing the Nationals for the Rays. You're going to have Pablo Lopez making his return to Miami.
Oh wow.
For the Twins facing Jesus Luzardo. That one will be a lot of fun for, obvious reasons. Miles Michaelis will be facing the Braves for the Cardinals. You will have Mitch Keller and Corey Kluber facing each other in Pirates Red Sox. A lot of these games will be at 1, by the way. David Peterson and Corbin Burns will be facing each other in Mets Brewers. Kyle Gibson and Jacob deGrom will be facing each other in Orioles Rangers. Obviously, this is kind of, the ones going at it a lot, and it looks like you found the thing.
Yeah.
Nice. Eduardo Rodriguez and Christian Javier will be facing each other in Tigers and Astros in Houston. Logan Webb versus Dylan Cease in Giants White Sox. That'll be a fun one. You will have Shohei Ohtani versus Chris Flexen in Angels Mariners. Alek Manoah versus Zach Greinke in Blue Jays Royals. And a pretty obvious matchup of the day comes from Phillies Yankees. It's Aaron Nola versus Garrett Cole.
Yeah. 2 strikeout minus walk rate kings.
Yes.
For sure.
Yes. So there isn't too much that's announced for Thursday, but Chris Sale will be facing the Tigers for the Red Sox. That'll be a 1 o'clock start. Chris Sale definitely needs a lineup like the Tigers right now after his last start. And also Detroit
Yes.
needs that. Edward Cabrera and his 96-mile-an-hour changeups will be facing Tyler McGill in the Mets at Citi Field. Kevin Gausman and Jordan Lyles will be facing each other in the opener of Blue Jays Royals. Alex Wood and Lance Lynn will be facing each other in Giants White Sox, and then Spencer Strider will be facing the Padres for the Braves. I think if it makes sense, Blake Snell would be going in that game, right? It would probably go back to him.
Yeah. Well, if
the day before is not Darvish or is not Snell. I don't believe.
Yeah. So yeah, it would probably come back to Snell.
Let me check. Is Snell? I would have just mentioned him if he was pitching on Wednesday.
Right.
I would assume.
Yes.
Or do the Padres not play on Wednesday?
Snell, who had nine strikeouts in 4 1/3 innings.
Okay, yeah, that's right. The Padres and Diamondbacks face each other for 2, like I mentioned earlier. So they have an off day. So yeah, I'm just gonna go with. He's not announced yet, but matchup of the night for Thursday, I'm gonna say is Blake Snell versus Spencer Strider.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna go with that, even though there's a lot that hasn't been announced.
Lots of strikeouts.
Yeah.
Lots of strikeouts. And
Yep.
I did finally find the Sandy Koufax thing with the How About That origins, and yeah, it really it's just it could only be made in the 60s, and yeah, it's just a giant thing on the scoreboard in scoreboard lettering, and it just says, that's the 22nd time this season Sandy has fanned 10 or more batters this season. 4 dots. How about that! Exclamation point. So, yeah, that's where I figured, hey, if we're doing a cool stat, we'll just say, how about that on the end of that, because I feel like specifically in baseball broadcasts too, you just hear that a lot. So, if it's a good thing, it's a how about that. But yeah, those are that's the preview of the week ahead. And that's this installment of Above Replacement Radio. That's it for the first episode, talking about the 2023 MLB season in action for the first time.
Absolutely.
We hope you enjoyed this one. If you are listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify and want to check out our digital content, go to the YouTube channel. It is called Above Replacement Radio. We have 4 players to watch in a condensed version, in a condensed 1-minute video on the YouTube channel on YouTube Shorts. Go check those out. Also, if you're listening on YouTube and want to avoid the weirdness of listening to a podcast on YouTube, just go to the Apple Podcast or Spotify streams and listen to Above Replacement Radio. If you want to follow us on social media, follow me on Twitter at Chris_Gianta and follow Daniel on both Twitter and Instagram at Daniel_Curran. You'll see the daily batter pitcher matchups, batter pitcher advantages on his Twitter feed.
Absolutely.
And along with that, follow the show Instagram at Above Replacement Radio for all the updates about the show. Check out all our predictions. Had a predictions post and refresh yourselves on what we think will happen in this MLB season. We hope you enjoyed this one, and we hope to see you probably Friday, where we will be talking all the happenings in Major League Baseball once again. We will see you then.
This conversation is over.